Long before the money, before the bodyguards, before the headlines and blood-stained history, there was only a boy from the streets of Medellín watching powerful men control the world while ordinary people struggled to survive. Pablo Escobar grew up in a country divided by wealth, corruption, and desperation. Some people were born into comfort. Others were born invisible. And invisible men often become obsessed with being remembered. Escobar hated powerlessness. He hated watching rich politicians speak about justice while poor neighborhoods drowned in poverty. He hated the humiliation of being ordinary. But more than anything, he feared insignificance. That fear would shape the rest of his life. Because some men chase money. Some chase survival. Pablo Escobar chased control. Before the empire, there was struggle. Not cinematic struggle. Real struggle. The kind that teaches a young man that morality often bends when survival enters the room. Escobar learned quickly that society respected wealth more than character. Doors opened for money. People listened to money. Even the law sometimes bowed to money. And once he discovered that truth, he never looked away from it again. He moved through the streets with relentless energy, hustling, calculating, adapting. Every setback hardened him. Every insult fueled him. Failure did not embarrass him. Being powerless did. Most people experience hardship and pray for peace. Escobar experienced hardship and swore he would never feel weak again. That vow transformed ambition into obsession. People often mistake men like Escobar for reckless. But empires are not built by chaos alone. Behind the violence was discipline, patience, strategy, an almost terrifying level of focus. While others wasted time chasing temporary pleasures, Escobar studied power itself. He studied fear, loyalty, greed, human weakness. He understood that every institution had a price. Every man had pressure points. Every system had cracks. And slowly, he built an empire not just through money, but through psychological dominance. Fear became his language. The terrifying part was not simply that he punished enemies. It was that he made examples out of them. Because fear spreads faster through stories than through violence itself. Soon, people obeyed him without seeing him. That is when power becomes dangerous. When your reputation starts working harder than you do. But even the most feared man in a nation cannot escape human emotion. Behind the myth, there was still a man constantly battling paranoia, loyalty, and isolation. Escobar loved deeply in his own complicated way. He protected his family obsessively. To them, he was not the monster of Colombia. He was a father, a husband, a provider. And that contradiction confused the world. How could one man build homes for poor families and simultaneously build fear across an entire nation? Because human beings are rarely one thing. Power had split Escobar into two identities: the family man seeking love, and the king obsessed with control. But fear changes relationships. Friends become suspicious. Allies become temporary. Trust disappears. The higher he climbed, the smaller his world became. And eventually, the man who made millions afraid began fearing everyone himself. That is the hidden cost of ruling through terror. You stop knowing who truly loves you. At the height of his empire, Escobar appeared untouchable. But power built on fear contains a silent weakness. It eventually consumes its creator. The same paranoia he planted into society began growing inside him. Every phone call felt dangerous. Every stranger looked suspicious. Every silence carried tension. The hunter slowly became hunted. And somewhere beneath the empire, beneath the mythology, beneath the chaos, a painful truth emerged. Fear can force obedience, but it can never create peace. Escobar had conquered streets, corrupted systems, and intimidated a nation. Yet he could not escape himself. Because no amount of power can silence the human mind forever. Not even for kings. The story of Pablo Escobar is not simply about crime. It is about what happens when ambition loses morality, when pain transforms into obsession, and when fear becomes more influential than hope. He mastered the psychology of intimidation better than almost any criminal in modern history. But in the end, Fear gave him everything except the one thing human beings truly seek: peace. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. The man who terrified millions spent his final years unable to fully trust the world around him, because fear is a weapon that never stays loyal to its master.